Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on TryHackMe. I am Dark, and today we're going to be starting the first part of the Linux fundamentals, the trifecta of these rooms. This is part of the Linux fundamentals module that you can find by going to Learn, and then it's one of the first modules, if not the first one. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into part one. So this, if this room looks familiar, this previously was Learn Linux. However, that room was incredibly long. I have a video of that on my YouTube channel, the older one, and it is an hour and a half. It is long. But this is a lot more digestible, and this is a lot easier to do, especially with getting started, as we have our machine controllable in the browser right there. Pretty snazzy. So, like I said, or like I just did, go ahead and click deploy just to get everything started up, especially if you're following along with me as I do this. We'll go ahead and scroll down and let that spin up, and we'll hop back up to the top once we are done with our reading here. In this room is the first part of, or in the Linux fundamental rooms, designed to teach you about various Linux concepts and built-in tools. This room covers the following topics: introduction to Linux, executing commands in man pages, basic file operators, and we'll have more in the other ones, but these three topics are plenty to get you started. If you want to SSH into the machine, so we have it up here that's controllable. That way you don't have to worry about knowing how to do SSH or anything like that. You can just use this. However, if you wanted to SSH, you can connect using the credentials Shiba1 and then the password Shiba1. Logging into a machine via SSH is covered in the second part of this room. So read the above. We can go ahead and mark that as completed. Deploy the machine attached to this task. If you have a machine open in the welcome room, so make sure that before you start this, make sure that any other machines you have deployed, you go up here and click that red terminate button. You can only have one machine open at a time. That is just so that we don't have a bunch of things sitting out on spawn up, and that adds up to a very expensive bill very quickly. So go ahead and click complete, and then make sure that it's deployed. You should see that it started up here if you're following along. Let's go ahead and go into section 2, or task 2 rather, methodology. After careful consideration, I've deemed the best way to go about this is to introduce various concepts in sections, with each section being more complex and requiring knowledge for the previous section. To better enable the transition between sections, I've split each section into different users in the VM. When you finish a section, you'll have to complete a challenge, and then you will be able to move on to the next section. So go ahead and read the above. We've gone ahead and already done that, so we'll mark that as complete and jump into section 2, running commands, basic command execution. Now that you've logged into the server, which we've already done because it just starts for us, you're gonna want to do things, and everything that can be done over SSH is running commands. So you're just using the computer without any sort of graphical user interface. So you can't see the desktop. You can list files. You can do pretty much anything that you would do with a GUI, but it's significantly faster as far as overhead goes, because you don't have to have those graphics going back and forth when you remotely logged into another machine. Very, very handy, especially if you're doing server administration, and that's something that, if you are interested in what we're doing right here, it's probably something that will be in your future, especially if you go into penetration testing. I can say that I use SSH on a daily basis, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't touch the command line, so it's worthwhile getting familiar with this. To start out, we'll take a look at some of the basic commands. The first command will be echo. Type echo hello and press enter, and you'll see your input echoed back at you. That's just kind of a reflection. Let's go ahead. Let's see. I wanted to open this up in a new... Okay. Let's see if that'll work. I'm going to open that up in a new tab. I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a moment and make it split screen to make it easier to see. All right, we're back. Pardon me. I made it split screen, so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm not going to be able to make the font that much bigger, but I'll read out the commands as I'm doing them. So we'll go ahead and do echo hello, and you can see that it just repeats back to us hello. This is useful for debug things. So think of it this way: if you're writing something that's going to be an automated task, so scripting it, and you think that it might have broken, or you didn't do the right thing, or somehow it just doesn't work, Having statements that echo things back can help you figure out what went wrong. It also can provide information out as it's running that says, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing. Very, very useful and something worthwhile to know. Much like the word it's named after, echo returns whatever is inputted into it. Congratulations, you've just run your first Linux command. So we'll go ahead and mark that as completed and move into manual pages and flags. Most of the commands you'll learn about have a lot of options that are not immediately known at first glance. These options are known as flags, sometimes called switches, and have the format command. So the actual command is right here, so like echo, and then we'd have our flags, which is usually dash, and then a letter, which we can see a couple of them down here, and then your user input. So in this case, hello with what we did before. These flags can be learned about using the man command, or short for manual. The man command has the format man and then the command. So if we wanted to look at the manual for the echo command, we could do man echo. And there you go. Therefore, to learn about flags for the echo command, which I just did, we would type man echo. Typing that shows us a nicely formatted document, which we can see over here as well, which is actually a little bit bigger. We get a lot of information, but the flags are stored in the description section. For example, the flag to remove the new line is dash lowercase n. So to output Sheba without the new line, you would type echo dash lowercase n for the flag or the switch, and then Sheba. Some commands support the dash h command or dash dash help. It's spelled all the way out, meaning you can type command dash h and get a list of flags and other useful information without using man. Most things that you're going to use support the help command. More people end up using help or dash h with commands than going to the man page. The man page is often enough a last resort, but it's something that you want to know about in case you have to go to it. How would you output hello without a new line? So it's going to be echo and then dash n and then hello. And we can see that is right here in the actual output of the man page, which just stayed on the screen because I didn't clear the screen. You can do that with Control L, and it just removes everything on the screen. Let's jump into task 5 ls, which is going to be the first part of section 3, basic file operations. ls is a command that lists information about every file / directory in the directory. So it's like opening up Explorer in Windows and listing what's on your desktop or in your documents folder. It's exactly the same as that, but we're doing that on a command line. Just running the ls command outputs the name of every file in the directory. As with other commands, ls has many flags that can manipulate the output. For example, ls tac a or dash a shows all files / directories, including those which start with a period. Now you're thinking, okay, what's so special about this period? So we're in our home directory, which is the same directory that you see here. If I do ls, you can see there's only that executable Sheba1. If I do ls tac or space dash a, you can see a bunch of files that have that period. Those are hidden files. Those are usually things that you don't need to touch unless you're a more advanced user. Being advanced users as ethical hackers, these are things that we're going to touch. Especially your bash RC is super useful here. Your profile, your bash RC is for like things with your terminal customization. For example, I have like my IP address that'll come up down here in the bottom right, and other things like that. Different customizations that you can do if you're interested in doing something like that. Check out Tmux, spelled TMUX. But I digress. Either way, just nice to know it's hidden things. So we can go ahead and do. It looks like we have 2 questions here. What flag outputs all entries? I think that is going to be dash A. And then what flag lists things in a long list format? If we do ls tac h, we should be able to, okay, man ls. That is one of the rare examples of a command that doesn't have a help command. It might have a dash help. I'm not seeing it though. I'm going through this in a paged fashion by using the spacebar. You can also navigate using the arrow keys. And you're going to hear my wonderful keyboard below. In a long list format, and that's usually a hint that we need to look for long list in the actual description here, and it's going to be dash L. You can see that right over here in case you missed it. And if we want to exit out of this, it is going to be Q and then Control and then L. Hold on. Control L clears the screen again. Let's jump into task 6, cat. Cat, short for concatenate, does exactly that. It outputs the contents of files to the console. For example, given a file called a.txt which contains the data hello, cat a.txt would output hello, so it's just anything that's in the file. Cat supports the -- help flag, meaning that you can see useful flags without going to the man page. So we can do that with cat -- help, and we'll try that with cat -h. And you can see that it doesn't support the short form of it, but it does support the more verbose form of help, and we can see all that output up there. And you can see that over here as well. What flag outputs, what flag numbers all output lines? I'm going to guess that's -n. Yep, and sure enough it is. And let's move into task 7, touch. Touch is a pretty simple command. It creates files. Given the command touch b.txt, b.txt will be created, and we can do that right over here, b.txt. And if we do ls, we can see that we have a new file. If we do ls tac lsa, it'll show the size as well, and we can see, if we look at that, it has nothing in it because we just made it, nothing in it, it's just an empty file. Read the above, we'll go ahead and mark that as completed, and jump to task 8, running a binary. Occasionally there will be times when you want to run downloaded or user-created programs. This is done by providing the full path to the binary. This is just like an executable in Windows, things like that. Except instead of double-clicking on it, we're going to go ahead and do the, we have to provide the path to it, or using a dot path. And I'll show that in a second. It'll make more sense in actual concept. We essentially are telling the computer, this is exactly where the file is that I want you to run as the command. The command being just the location of the file, as long as it is executable. And then it just runs it. This is done by providing the full path to the binary. For example, say you downloaded a binary that outputs newt, providing the full path to that binary will execute it. So you can see we have temp, the AA folder in temp, and then hello.bin. That's usually short for binary. And then we can see that it just outputs hello. A binary is just executable code. Think of a Windows exe file. So yeah, it's the same as an exe file. Very, very easy and simple that way. This seems like a good time to mention relative paths. Every time you intend on running the binary, you don't need to provide the full path. You can use relative paths. So the chart below is assuming that we're in the temp directory in the AA folder. So we're in the same folder as the hello.bin. In this specific case, you can see that if we wanted to run it when we're in the same directory, we can do dot. So I'll type it out over here, and we'll do hello.bin. That would run it if we're in the same directory. If it's in, say we're in one more directory down and we want to run something that's in the directory above us, so we're in a folder, we can do that with just 2 dots. It says go up 1 and then run it. And then if we want to run something out of our home directory, we can do that with the tilde. That is going to be right below your escape key on at least an American keyboard. It might be moved around a little bit on other keyboards, but that'll be on the far left of your keyboard on the number row. And if it's in our home directory, you can do that with tilde and then / hello.bin, or whatever the binary is named. Super easy. These shortcuts are incredibly efficient and save time. These shortcuts for every command, so if we were to run ls and then dot, it would be the same as running ls in the current directory. So that's the same as running ls without anything else. How would you run a binary called hello using the directory shortcut? That's going to be period and then / and then just hello. How would you run a binary called hello in your home directory using the shortcut, the home directory shortcut, the tilde? And that's going to be the tilde / hello. How would you run a binary called hello in the previous directory using the shortcut? The .. shortcut. So something that's in the directory above us. That is going to be .. and then hello. Super easy. All right, let's move to task 9, Shiba 1. Now that you've learned basic file operations, you can solve the first challenge. This challenge is pretty simple. Create a file called newt.txt. Once you're done, run the binary and you'll be given a password for the user Shiba2. Note the name of the binary is Shiba1, which we can see it in our current directory. It's just right here, as shown in the title. So we're going to go ahead and first do touch newt.txt, and then we can go ahead and do period / Shiba1, and we can do tab to have it autocomplete that when we're part of the way through, and then press enter, and we can see that it gave us the password Pingu for the win, and we're all done with that challenge. Task 10, SU. Now that we have our next user password, it seems like a good time to cover SU. SU is a command that allows you to change the user. It's often referred to as substitute user or switch user, without logging out and logging back in again. Very helpful if you're SSH'd in and you want to just switch between users super quickly. This is oftentimes used when you're running as a low privilege user. So for example, Shiba1, and we want to run something as root, like we're installing something. We would do SU and then root, or just SU without anything and it assumes root. And we need to be authorized to actually log in as that user, or with the user's password rather. We need to have that. And if we provide that, we can log in as root or whatever user we have. I will show an example of that now with Shiba2. So for example, if we wanted to switch to Shiba2, I'll go and type this out as we're doing it. We can do SU Shiba2, press enter, and then it is going to be Pingu FTW. And there we go. We can see that we've swapped over to Shiba2. How do you specify which shell is used when you log in? I believe that's -s, and there you go. So in this specific case, we're using the shell called bash, the born again shell. A lot of people like using different shells such as KSH or ZSH. ZSH is actually just what Kelly switched to at the time, well, a little bit before this recording, just because bash, I believe, had some weird restrictions with its license. Bash is really, really popular, and it's just kind of a pick what you want. Very helpful, especially if sometimes you have a CTF situation where you have a restricted shell that you are forced into with switching users. You can specify that you don't want to use that restricted shell by using the -s, and you can escape it in that way. So fun little tip. All right, let's jump into task 11, Linux Fundamentals 2. Now that you have some beginner knowledge to using Linux, it's time you take a step further and join the Linux Fundamentals 2 room. And I will go through that in the next video. I will see you guys next time in the Linux Fundamentals 2 room video. If you have any questions, I will have you're welcome to join the TryHackMe Discord. That is going to be, let me go ahead and type it out over here, discord.gg, then /TryHackMe. If you put that in your browser, I'll type out the full name with HTTPS. If you put this in your browser, you'll be able to join the Discord. And otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to hop in there and ask him. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time, and I'll mark that as complete for anyone that might bother.